What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Chaotic Minds. As always, it's Winged.
And a midget.
And, oy,
And a January already. What the fuck?
yeah, it is the end of January, so you know what that means. Reddit stories.
You are the asshole. I mean, am I the asshole?
Yeah. I apologize if I'm not as energetic, you know. We meant to do this yesterday, but I was tired.
He was dead.
So, yeah. So how have you been? We'll start off with that. A little bit of small talk. How are you? No
Ironically, excuse me. Ironically tired. Like,
that doesn't surprise me.
it's been a really weird. Well, we've been doing this 2 different locations for a couple months now.
This would make week 3, honestly.
No, it's not. It's been longer than that.
For you, maybe.
No, it's been longer than that for you because you've been doing it since before Christmas.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, then it's been a month before Christmas. 1 month ago.
Yeah.
So.
It's been longer than that. I have a feeling.
It's been a hot minute.
Yeah. We've been working 2 different locations, and
one of us,
yeah,
me, have been working 2 different shifts.
Yeah, and it's just really difficult to adjust.
Well, not only adjust.
And for those days that you would be at work and I'm off, and then you get off at 10 and you get home and I spend the evening talking to you, BSing with you till you're ready to go to bed at 2 or 3, and then I don't have that, it's like really weird for me.
Yeah. I know. I agree. But anyways. So
you got a few?
We're going to kick this one off with a juicy one.
Okay.
It's a shorter one, but it's still juicy. Am I the asshole for calling my sister privileged when she had her baby?
That's funny.
You know why I picked this one.
Yes, I do.
My sister, 29 female, has had her first child last year. She works at a big tech company, so for 6 months she got fully paid, and she had a doula, I think that's what she called her, nearly full-time for the first month. What is a doula, real quick?
Doula is basically somebody who comes and helps with the baby.
Okay.
They start when they're still pregnant and laboring.
So it's like midwife, kind of midwifey?
Yeah.
Okay.
Along the same lines.
Her husband is a doctor, so she gets the privilege of having a lot of money. They had a cleaner come by weekly, and her husband took off a month to be with her after the doula left. She complained to me last week about how hard it was for her to go back to work and how she still feels tired and she doesn't feel motivated. She has complained a lot since giving birth about how she feels, and I know I should have kept quiet and let her complain, but I got annoyed. I pointed out how privileged she was for being able to get help after birth and how she got way more time off than most people. I only get the 12 weeks FMLA, and I couldn't even take the whole thing because my boyfriend had his hours cut and we needed the money. I felt like she had basically what most people would consider heaven in terms of care, and she was complaining, which was a slap in the face to my situation. She got mad and yelled at me for making the comparison, saying it had nothing to do with me and she felt like crap regardless of what help she got.
See
my
my
what I mean by
end.
say juicy?
My end of it is she's not the asshole. And I'll explain why. The reasoning is she is in a position where not only was she able and paid to take the 6 months off.
Yeah.
Plus, with her husband's influence, that doula is typically only for the hospital, just so you're aware. And that doula came by for a month while she was at home.
Yeah.
And helped her with whatever she needed. And then her husband took a month off.
Yeah.
So she had so many opportunities that most, I will say 90% of new mothers don't have.
Right.
I know moms who have the baby, and once the baby is old enough for daycare at 6 weeks old, they have to go back to work
Yeah.
because they literally do not have those opportunities. And I think that's why this sister is calling her privileged, because it's like she not only has the money, because A, her husband's a doctor, B, she works for a big tech company, so they have plenty of money. She's just complaining to complain. And she has more than enough money to take all that time off, her husband to take time off, and to have a doula come to her house. Then why can't she hire an au pair or a nanny?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Like my mom, when I was younger, gave birth to my little brothers, both each time that she did. And 6 weeks after giving birth, she had to go back to work because we didn't have a whole lot of money.
Exactly.
Both of my parents worked and all that, so, they had that. And this is back when, males getting paternity leave
was unheard
didn't
of.
exist.
Yeah.
At the same time, what I will say is very similar to a comment that I found. Drowning is drowning, whether it's in a bathtub or an ocean.
You drown the same way.
Yeah. Just because one situation, they have a lot of money, and the other situation, you don't have a lot of money, it still sucks. Trying to get that motivation back up, trying to get that mindset back into place, trying to do everything that you can to go ahead and get back into a working mindset is it doesn't matter. It still sucks.
Look at it this way. I'm exhausted now. We have teenagers.
Yeah. But does it suck any less? No. Don't try to. My biggest thing is don't try to don't try to put down what somebody else is feeling. Then, and so that way you feel justified in calling them an asshole. Just because your situations aren't the same doesn't mean that she's not feeling the same way that you are.
Which is valid. But the thing is,
rich people are still people.
Yes, but the thing is they have the money to get help.
Yeah.
Whereas broke ass people like ourselves, we're not broke. We're not rich.
Yeah.
But poor, or the what do they call the lower middle class.
Lower middle class.
Okay. So the lower middle class people that can't afford the extra help, they have to juggle a full-time job and their newborn. And I don't hear half of them complaining as much as what she's saying her sister is.
Sister-in-law, sister, whatever. I don't remember. See, I think this is something that you and I have contrasting opinions on. Because where you look at that sister, or you look at the OP and say, no, they're not the asshole.
Now, I will say, she could have said it differently.
Where you will go ahead and look at the OP and say she's not an asshole, I am going to look at OP and say she is, because she is trying to compare two different situations. It's like comparing
traumas.
Yeah. You process trauma different than somebody else does. You can be in the exact same situation, go through the exact same pain, go through everything that has been done the same way, identical. And how you react to it and how you handle it is going to be different than how I handle it.
Yeah. So,
like I said, there was a bunch of comments that were in there, and a majority. I'm not going to read all of them, or like the two that I can, that I will is
That stood
one
out.
of them said, drowning is drowning, whether you're in a bathtub or an ocean. That was a comment. Another one was, to quote an old doctor, just because you've had a broken finger, don't try to compare it to a broken femur.
Exactly.
So,
and that's my point. That's the finger is the richness. The femur
it's still a broken
is the
bone.
poor. It is.
But at the end of the day, a lot of what the comments summary saying, a lot of the comments were, "You're the asshole." So,
Like I said, which I can see both sides,
Yeah.
but
so I'm not going to read this one, just because it's like I read through it. I'm
too
like,
long,
nah.
didn't?
No, I read through
TLDR.
all of it.
Yeah.
But I just don't feel like, because that guy definitely is an asshole. So, I mean, he's justified in his assholishness, but definitely the asshole. So instead, am I the asshole for refusing to allow my brother to live with or rent from me in a housing crisis?
No. And I can say that emphatically.
Oh, yeah.
No, you're
All right.
not the asshole.
So, here's the story. I, 28 female, have been able to get into the housing market in a good area in a big apartment. My brother, 36 male, is still living with my parents and is getting kicked out in 3 months. Rent anywhere in my city is about $400 plus a week. I feel sorry for my brother, who has been in and out of a job for the last 8 months, and prior to that, jobless for 2 years due to moving to a new job for burnout reasons, but then left his new job within 2 weeks due to bullying toxicity. He had difficulty finding a job within that 2 years. He also had his car taken away because he has a lot of debt. But I don't want to live with him anymore, and I cannot trust him as a tenant. Here's why. In those 2 years, he was getting government subsidy, but my mom was shocked, heartbroken, and infuriated when that she had found him to have stolen $37,000 from her, spending it on drugs, expensive shoes, and electronics, not even using it to pay off his debt. It took us a while to trust him again, but even so, I helped him out, buying him a new phone when his broke, paying for his gym sessions every week, buying him food, and helping to pay some bills. He now has a job that pays a good amount, but he doesn't prioritize his spending on his bills and debt. He instead buys takeout, expensive shoes, and miscellaneous want items. He is terrible with money. He has stolen from me and my mom, even when earning $900 a week. Plus, he does not respect anyone's belongings at all. He's broken the bathroom light, sink plug that was built in, bathroom drain cover, my car's dash cam. He has used, without permission, my hair and face products, which I have told him not to use because they are expensive and hard to get. He has rifled through my work bag and my room to steal from me. We both have ADHD and both use dexamphetamine.
Dextroamphetamine.
That's it. But he uses a higher dose than I do, and it was this time that he was trying to steal my medication. He tried to lie about it when I confronted him, but at that time my parents were on holiday, so it only could have been him. Thankfully, I store my medication in a safe. I've tried talking to him like my therapist suggested, but it is apparent that he does not care. He even said, "I don't care," when I told him not to touch my mom's face products while they were away. He also refuses to see a therapist because he does not believe they can help. I cannot live with them as I'm afraid my stuff will be stolen and my belongings in my house broken. He has not looked at anywhere to rent. I don't know if he expects our parents to let him stay or that I will support him. He may be without a place to live in 3 months. No, you're not the asshole in that house. No,
not at all. I mean, on the first thing that stands out to me, $37,000 and you didn't even pay off your debts? Like, seriously? Or at least go find your own place to live and pay up front for X amount of months.
Well, here's $37,000. One, if you're $37,000 in debt, like, how? Like, what were you doing? Like,
He probably went out and got a new car and never paid on it.
I could see that. Or, I mean, I was in debt like $8,000 for medical bills, but at the same time, that was just $8,000.
And that was because the VA is garbage here.
But I mean, and don't get me wrong, I've left jobs before for hostility and toxicity. I mean, the bowling alley. What?
I had a cold.
Oh, I mean, I straight up left the bowling alley because of that. Because I was, every time I'd say something or have an issue, it would get ignored, or I would get gaslit, or people would react to me in a negative manner. Minus one, my work wife, but past that, like, I would be treated like garbage, so I can understand that, However, you can't fuck up that badly and continue to do things in the way that he is, and just expect to continue to be allowed to do it. You can't steal from someone and then expect them to give you something. You can't expect to lie to them and then have them just believe you when you say, "Oh, I'll make sure that I have rent taken care of," or that I'm gonna get this to you every month. Like, you can't do that. It makes no flipping sense.
Yeah, me neither. It just makes no sense. But people are dumb.
So, some of the comments. Not the asshole. You are not your brother's keeper. Unfortunately, some people won't get their shite together, and it's SHITE, if they are never allowed to fail. I would suggest telling him that you aren't a fallback option. I would also let him know that financial support is off the table until he has squared his debts with your parents. Yep, I will agree.
Yeah,
with
that I agree with.
Somebody went ahead and commented, "OP, your brother has arrived at the intersection of actions meet consequences. People treat us the way we allow them to. You and your parents have constantly bailed him out. If you continue to do so, you will wake up in 10, 15, 20 years kicking yourself because he is living in your house, not paying rent, eating your food, leaving a mess, and jobless. NTA, not the asshole, full stop. No is a complete sentence."
Yep, 100% agree with that.
Yeah. I
mean, look at it. Drugs, electronics, theft. Like, he could be if he would have stole that money from his parents, granted, stealing is wrong, no matter what the reason. If he would have stole that money from his parents and paid off his debts, his parents would have been like, okay, pay us back, not been as mad. But no, he used it on drugs and electronics.
Here's a better thing. Steals $37,000. Put his ass in jail.
Yeah, he'd get clean. He'd be forced to get the help he needs.
Put his ass in jail. End of story. It sucks that you have to have that thought, but no, he needs to be in a place where he is being held responsible for the actions that he's done and held accountable for the wrongdoing that he's done. Put him in jail.
It's all about accountability, and they need to hold him accountable or he will never change.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the situation I'm in.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, my account got hacked and I lost both my debit card and the food stamp card, and I said something to my mom, and the first thing out of her mouth was, "Can you go help your brother with the tire?" Like, really?
No.
I have more pressing issues to deal with, Mom.
On top of that, then just no.
And I said, I messaged her and told her, I work at night, so I sleep all day.
Yep.
And I haven't heard from her since.
Oh, no, of course not.
She was blowing up my phone for how many days?
Oh, yeah.
And your phone and our child's phone.
Yeah.
Like, don't pull kids into adult matters, please. Anyways.
So the next
Not
one.
the asshole on that one.
Not the asshole. So the next one. Would I be the asshole if I asked a girl not to record in the gym?
It depends on what she's recording. So let's pause my opinion on this.
Okay. Hello, I, 30 male, have a gym in my building that I can use for free as a tenant. The gym rules are that max 2 apartments can train there at the same time. So basically you call reception and they book you the spot. As reception is working from 9 to 9, and I usually train at 7 and am a long-term tenant, they allow me to use it at 7 as it would give me time to work out before work and give me privacy, which I prefer. Recently, a girl in her early 20s started coming 15-ish minutes after me. At first, I didn't have a problem with it, as I am not entitled to the personal gym, and I know that 2 apartments can share it at the same time. I didn't pay much attention to her apart from nodding my head as a good morning or hello. She nodded back, and that was it. What I didn't notice at first is that she is constantly using her phone to record herself, and there is a catch. I don't like myself being on camera, and I started to avoid working out on any machine that is in her line of sight. As it is a small gym, I don't usually have the luxury of moving to another machine that fits my training regime for the day, so I started finishing my training earlier as soon as she comes. I'm guessing he means other than not wanting to be recorded, I also don't feel safe with the nowadays trend of being labeled as a creep on TikTok just by walking around a gym when there is a girl who records videos. So after ending my training early for the entire week, I considered asking her not to record videos while I'm there. Now what comes to mind here is, 1, if I don't end my training early, I might get in the line of sight of the camera looking around randomly in that direction, and I will possibly end up as a creep in front of hundreds of thousands of people on TikTok. And 2, if I ask her not to record, I can also be labeled as a creep just for approaching the girl with the question. A few things to note. I don't know if she uploads her videos anywhere, as I have never talked with her. I am not sexist and I don't have problems with girls in the gym. I just don't feel safe being recorded all the time, risking to end up on social media as many other guys who were innocently labeled as creeps and got destroyed in their social lives. Also, I'm a foreigner in Indonesia, a country where people have been deported for less if there is any drama around them on social media. I can't train at any other time as I start working around 9. I finish my training around 8, take a shower, make myself a tea, and prepare my work. He works at home. I know I'm not entitled to the gym, and that's why I'm asking, would I be the asshole if I made such a request?
I mean, a way he could approach it to avoid being the asshole is talk to the office people. Tell them, hey, I've noticed that this person is recording. I'm not comfortable with that. Are there rules against it? Find out if there's rules against it, because if there's rules against it, it's out of his hands, for 1. For 2, if he is uncomfortable with it and he approaches it through the office, he's not going to be seen as the creep, because he could say, hey, this is what's going on. This is what's making me uncomfortable. She's recording. I'm unsure of why she's recording or if she's uploading these videos, and I don't want to seem like I am approaching her in a hostile way. Is there a way you could help me out? I mean, there's ways to avoid being looked at as a creep, but at the same time, on playing devil's advocate here, she might be doing this to study her form. She might be doing this because she is concerned for her safety. Because I know plenty of women and men who record themselves to see how their form is and correct things that they may not have noticed in the moment. And I've also known some men and women that have recorded because they want to make sure that if something happens, what happens is documented. So there's ways to avoid it by going through the office. He doesn't have to approach her if he feels uncomfortable or unsure if that would make him a creep.
So my personal opinion on this is, I agree with you. She could be just recording herself to study and correct things. Bring it to somebody who does work out, and lift or whatever she's doing, and be like, "Hey, here's what I do. Here's how I look when I do this. What do I need to fix?"
Yeah.
And there are ways to, go ahead and be like, "Hey, this is making me a little uncomfortable. I just wanted to let you know. Is there any way that we could not do this, or you could come at a later point, when it's not real busy or whatnot, to work out, so that way you can record yourself and all that, because I don't want to take that away from you," right? However, I do see the other side. I do see where he's coming from, because there have been a lot of videos here, especially recently, of women setting up a camera to quote unquote record their workout. And the second they see any guy, and it's typically males, in their shot, that might be like looking over like, "Hey, they're doing okay." They immediately jump to, "Oh, this guy's a creep." Or, if they're doing an exercise that they've never seen before. Like, there was a gentleman who he was propped up on a bench, and he was like L-shaped, like his back was on the bench, but the rest of him wasn't on the bench. Like, when I say his back, is like shoulders and head and neck. But he was like L-shaped off the bench, right? And he had a kettlebell around his waist, or on his waist, and he was hip thrust. Trying to work on his hip flexors and whatnot.
Hip flexors and glutes.
Yeah. And two women were like, "Oh, he's creepy because he's doing this, and doing this purposefully here.
It looks obscene."
Yeah. So, like, I can understand why he's so hesitant on saying anything. Now, I agree with you. If he goes to the office, or he goes to the people who are in charge of the gym, and it's like, "Hey, this is what I've noticed." Granted, she can't call down to set an appointment, just like he can't call down, because they work out before anybody gets in there.
Yeah.
So it's not like he can schedule that, because there's nobody in the office, right? And neither can she. But there are ways that they can go ahead and talk with the office, or whoever's in charge of the gym. Be like, "Hey, this is what's been happening before anybody gets in, while I'm, first thing in the morning when I'm doing my workout. It's making me feel extremely uncomfortable, and I don't want to run the risk of having any sort of negative impact on me because of a potential negative
view.
Yeah, or negative interaction that I would have with this woman. So is there any way that we can, like, put up a sign, or we can make sure that it's known that you don't record yourself, or, limit recording, or that you have to let somebody know, insert whatever.
And some states have laws about recording.
This is overseas. Yeah. This is in Indonesia. So whatever the country, like, I don't know what that country's laws are when it comes to, recording. I know here in the United States,
some states are two-party states, some states are one-party states.
Yeah, like there are some states where if you're recording, you have to get permission from everyone involved. There are some states where you don't need that, and you can just record whenever the hell you want. I know, as part of as part of schooling that I went through, that if you're recording something that's going to, potentially be used to make money or whatnot, and you have interactions with people, or you're filming people's reactions to something, you have to get written consent from them to be a part of the video, or to have their face in the video. Now, granted, you can go ahead and blur it out. If they say no, you can blur their face out, but You know,
It still doesn't solve the uncomfortability
No, it doesn't.
of the situation.
So would he be the asshole? No. I mean, here's the thing. Working out, you're in a vulnerable state. Regardless of what anybody says or how everybody sees it, you're in a vulnerable state because people are seeing you outside of how you would portray yourself. You know, most people when they go to the gym, they're in, sweatpants or, shorts and a t-shirt or a tank top or
Sports bra,
whatever.
Yeah.
They're in extremely lazy clothing or they're in extremely opposite clothing of what they normally wear because they'll typically wear like
or
nicer
clothing
clothes.
Or clothing that doesn't allow restriction in your workout.
It has restriction
Yeah.
that makes your workout even harder. So it's tighter against some areas and whatnot. And you are putting yourself out there for other people to see.
Yeah.
So you're being put in a vulnerable situation. If you're not comfortable with somebody recording you, say something.
And I mean, I was watching one of the guys I follow on TikTok, Don't Cross a Gay Man. I love that dude. He tells stories about his goddaughter being and all that. But he told a story about when he was at a workout right before or right after Christmas. And it's the same thing even if they're not recording. And there was these 3 guys that kept making comments about this girl because she was a bigger girl. New year, new me. It was right after the new year. That's right.
Yeah.
And she was working out to lose weight and to better herself.
Yeah.
And these guys kept making snide comments. He didn't say anything for a while because he was like, I'm not sure if she's hearing it. I don't want to make a big deal. Don't want to make a scene in the outside in the gym.
Right.
But when he went to go get changed and shower in the locker room, they were still making comments, and he's like, look, that's not cool, and started saying something, whatever he said to him. And they were like, who are you to tell us what we can and can't say? It's not about what you can and can't say. It's about tact. And those guys obviously had none.
Yeah. Like, that's part of the reason why, like, we had a gym membership with a gym that's close to here. And we went a few times, and
2 or 3. Yeah.
All 3 times that we went, I left early.
Yep. And that's because you are a larger person. I'm not the smallest person in the world anymore, but even I felt uncomfortable because of the comments and the stares and stuff like that. And the workers there just didn't say anything, didn't care. I don't know.
So reading some of the comments, somebody went ahead and said, just kindly tell her that you're uncomfortable being on camera so that way she can make sure that she's only aiming at herself and that you would really appreciate it. Most people are pretty receptive to interactions that don't feel like an attack. Somebody commented, and said, yeah, maybe the woman is recording her sets as practice if she's also a trainer or a beginner. Somebody went ahead and said simply this: it doesn't have to be a big deal or anything. Just say, hey, I noticed you're recording yourself. I really don't like to be on camera, so could you just make sure I'm not in the shot? Thanks. You're not the asshole, and it honestly should be simple courtesy for anyone to check if the people around them are okay with being on video, especially if it's going to be uploaded somewhere. I think, OP, you are overreacting slightly with the thoughts that just walking through her shot would get you in trouble. I mean, yes and no. We've seen interactions like that before.
Unfortunately.
Or, videos of that before. I've actually seen somebody get angry with somebody and start going off on them because you just walk through my shot. Yeah, this is a gym. This is what people do.
Yeah. So, walking from one machine to another. It's like, really?
But then, there are other comments. Most of the other comments are like, hey, stand up for yourself, talk to the apartment staff, that kind of stuff. So, would you be the asshole? Depending on how you did it.
Yes, depending on how you approach the situation.
Yeah, depending on how you went about things, no, you wouldn't be the asshole. If you went at things like an asshole, then you'd be the asshole. but if you do it in a logical way
Tactful.
and tactful, then no, you wouldn't be.
Exactly.
All right, so the next one is another would I. Would I be the asshole if I told my fiance's family I am not buying them a new TV?
Huh?
I, 29 male, just got a call from my fiance letting me know that her family is expecting us to buy them a new TV because our daughter broke theirs. Our daughter, Jane Doe, obviously fake, was over at their house instead of daycare at their request. They wanted to spend some quality time with her, and instead of doing that, they decided that they would sit on their phones and watch TV instead of the baby that's not even a year old yet. So, baby Jane Doe is playing with these cords, and we get a video of her not 5 minutes before the TV falls playing with these cords. We got the video too late to make a difference, but her family's excuse was that she didn't realize what she was playing with. She tugged the cords enough to make the TV fall from where it was and busted it enough so it's basically useless. So would I be the asshole if I told them to pound sand because the only reason the TV fell was because they weren't watching Jane and they were lucky it didn't fall on her? I don't feel like I should be responsible for someone else's negligence. Edit. Spelling and grammar. At least he's, catches that. Edit 2. Jane goes to daycare during working hours. My fiance's family were watching her at their request instead of her being at daycare. They are not the primary child care. Edit 3. I would like everyone to know that I am rip shit. My child was almost hurt. And then later found she stuck her hand in a fan that had the guard taken off. She is okay. I'll be ripping my sister-in-law a new asshole. A lot of people commented that I seemed okay with it, and I'm not. I just didn't want to go off half-cocked.
Personally, I don't...
Hang on. What the fuck is rip shit?
Basically going off the handle. My thing is, no. I don't think you'd be the asshole. Because she's less than a year old.
Yeah.
They should have been keeping a better eye on her.
Uh-huh.
Even when our kids were young like that, I was up their ass when they were moving around.
I wasn't around at that point.
And it's just like, I don't understand why they're like, oh, you have to buy us a new TV. No, you should have been keeping an eye on her because that could have killed her.
Yeah. So here's my take on it. And I will agree with something that he said. Why should I have to give you money or buy something new for you because it broke while you weren't paying attention to my kid that you asked to watch? That's like saying, oh, hey, your dog broke through a fence because I wasn't paying attention to him to get to me. Or I'm trying to think of a better one. My toaster oven, you need to replace my toaster because it fell off of your counter while I was moving stuff around. I mean, it's not a one-to-one, but like...
I mean, another one for me is you need to replace my TV because your child threw a controller and it hit the TV and broke it.
That one I can understand.
Yes, but if they are that young... Like, I used to sit the boys down so that they'd stop trying to get into shit while I was trying to do the dishes or trying to put a load of laundry on.
Yeah.
That I would hand them the controller while their uncle or their dad was playing a game that was disconnected. And they've thrown it a few times. Granted, I gave them the controllers that didn't work for that purpose. But even when they were at other people's houses that had games or whatever, I'd bring that broken controller. And there was a time where the adults were chit-chatting, the teenagers were entertaining the younger ones, and one of them threw a controller and it hit the TV and broke it. And I was like, I am so sorry. Matthias was 2 at that point. I was like, he knows better than to throw things. Do you want me to give you money for the TV? No, it's fine. They are too young to know. They knew better than to throw things, but they didn't realize that they were going to break something.
Yeah.
There's a difference between if it was a younger child like that, less than a year old, and a 10-year-old child just throwing a tantrum.
Yeah.
There's a huge difference.
Oh, yeah. I agree with you
And the
on that.
age is the deciding factor here. That baby is less than a year old. They were playing with cords, which could have strangled them,
Electrocuted them.
or the TV could have fallen on them. Either way, that baby could have been dead.
Yeah.
And if that baby got hurt, I would have beat those people's ass, family
I don't
or
care
not.
if it's. I wouldn't even like if something happened to my kid, and like my parents were watching them. Right. Let's say
Yeah.
let's reverse time for a bit. Right. And let's say our kids are teeny tiny little babies, and my parents said, "Oh, hey, we'll watch your kids." Right. And my parents just decided, they weren't paying attention to the kiddos, and something happened. And
One got hurt.
One of them got hurt. I would say something to my parents, be like, "Why the fuck
Where
were
were
you
you
not
at?
watching my child?"
Yeah, where were you at?
Now, granted, my parents aren't irresponsible like that, thankfully.
Your parents aren't morons,
No.
which sounds like these people are.
Yeah. But at the same time, I would tell your fiance's, parents to
Pound sand.
go fuck themselves.
I like how he put it, pound sand.
I like mine a little bit better. Granted, mine's a little more aggressive, but
Please, go fornicate with thyself.
yeah, because it's your fault your TV broke.
Exactly.
Just because it was my child who you were supposed to be watching and weren't, and they got into cords which they shouldn't have been around because
yeah.
you weren't watching.
And the fan blade situation too? Like,
No.
really? No.
No,
You wouldn't be the asshole.
no. So somebody went ahead and said, so what you're saying is your in-laws endangered the life of your X-month-old baby by allowing her to play with electrical cords, which then caused their TV to fall and break. How close was she to being squashed under the TV? I'd be livid. Only supervised visitation from now on, if at all, not the asshole. OP did respond. That's basically what I told my fiance when she called me. I am not sure. The TV fell on my sister-in-law's foot. Sister-in-law's 18. Instead of the baby, she is fine. Wait, an 18-year-old was close enough to Wait, an 18-year-old was close enough to that disaster to catch some fallout, but didn't manage to stop it? What kind of household is it? OP responded.
That's funny.
OP responded, we, my fiance and I, are pretty sure she was on her phone. So then why isn't your fiance telling her family to pound sand? OP responded, because we want a relationship with them. I already don't like them, and I'm okay with being the asshole in their eyes. I just want to mitigate the fallout a bit. Let's see here. I'm skipping over the back and forth. Somebody else commented, so you're okay with them endangering your child in order to have a relationship with them. Is your fiance okay with it as well? I feel sorry for your child. I know they almost killed you, but we have to have a relationship with them. What nonsense.
Yeah, I don't care if family or not. If they're going to endanger my children, no. Hence the reason Marie is not allowed to be anywhere near our children, even as old as they are now, because Marie left our oldest in a bathtub at a year old by himself to go outside and smoke a cigarette.
Yep.
And she found him laying down, face down, in the water. Didn't tell me till 2 days later when I came to pick him up.
Yeah.
Because I had to go out of town for a family emergency. And he was sick, so I didn't want to take him.
Somebody went ahead and said your fiance should be handling the family. Somebody else said, if they spend so much time on their phones, why do they need a new TV? And I will agree with that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see here. All right. This is probably going to be the last one. Am I the asshole for telling a guy not to do squat curls at a squat rack?
Not to do what?
Not to do curls at a squat rack.
Yes. Or actually, no, you are not the asshole because it's meant for a certain exercise, and that's what it's meant for. You should do squats at a squat rack, not curls. Unless he's doing squats and curls at the same time, then yeah, you would be the asshole.
So the story goes, yesterday I, 22 female, was at a gym and I noticed this guy who was doing bicep curls at a squat rack. This looked weird, but regardless, I went up to him and asked how many sets he has, to which he said 1. As a result, I decided to wait until he was done with his exercise. For those of you who don't work out, a squat rack at any gym is 90% of the time being used, and most of the time you'll have to wait in line. It looks extremely bad to do any other exercise that can be done at a different spot where people don't have to wait. However, I let him do his exercise. He then tells me with an attitude, why don't you do another exercise until I'm done? To which I said, I'll just wait until you're finished with your set. He tells me I don't know gym etiquette and that I'm impatient, to which I respond with, maybe you shouldn't be curling at a squat rack. He then reports me to the staff. The staff essentially saw where I was coming from, but does note that people can do any exercise at any machine. I told her I was aware, which is why I waited until the guy was done. I'm asking, am I the asshole? Because 2 other people who overheard the conversation said I was rude.
See, that's a kind of touchy subject for me
Exactly.
because it's like it's a squat rack. There are other places you can do curls. That is a very busy station. You shouldn't be doing curls at a squat rack. Sorry.
Now, I will go ahead and say that the gym that they're at says that they can be in any space to do any exercise. Unless it specifically says, like there's been a few gyms that I've been to that's like, hey, this is for this exercise or this exercise, working these muscles, don't do anything else. There's been a couple of gyms that I've gone to that have not had that rule. But common courtesy states if it is a piece of equipment that is utilized frequently, that you utilize it for what it's meant for.
Utilize it for its purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
My personal opinion, it's personal opinion, you're not the asshole. Because he shouldn't have been using a piece of equipment for something he wasn't supposed to.
Especially a busy piece of equipment.
Right. Now, where I will differentiate or where I will
Differ
in opinion
Yeah.
is going back to, one of the previous stories. Depending on how you're using a piece of equipment. Like the benches, like I said, right?
Okay.
If you're working at your hip flexors and you're doing like that L-shaped exercise that I was saying.
Okay.
Right? If you are on a bench that most people do like curls with or butterflies on or, an upper arm exercise on, those are meant for different exercises. So working out your hip flexors on that is not a thing. However, if you're using like a lift, like a bench press bench to work on your hip flexors,
Go for it.
One, if there's no other benches that are available and that's the only one that is, then sure. But you should also be aware that if somebody wants to use the bench press for the bench press, you should probably allow them to do that. Work on something else, go back to it when it's free. By that time,
Yeah.
something else is going to be free. If you're using a squat rack for squats, that is what it's meant for. However, if you're using a squat rack for curls,
Move out of the way.
that's not what it's meant for. And if you're there doing curls before doing squats, because it is such a high trafficked area and you're holding your spot, you are the same type of person who goes ahead and puts out lawn chairs in front of your house for parallel parking, so that way you can only you can parallel park in front of your house. That is
on the public road.
Yep,
Yeah.
that is the same.
Yeah.
That is a public piece of equipment that is needed to be used by everyone. You do not hold a monopoly over it. If there's anywhere else, there are plenty of places, from what it sounds like, for you to be able to do your curls. Do that somewhere else. Allow the equipment to be used as it is meant to be used.
Yeah, I don't see why people are like that. Like, seriously, why would you take up and monopolize a machine that is obviously popular to do curls? I don't
Probably
get it.
because right after he was
They have
done doing
common
curls,
courtesy.
he was going to do squats.
Yeah, it's that
Which
placeholder.
makes no sense, because if you're doing curls, you're working out your arms. Squats are your legs and your back. You're supposed to work on one
Group a
group.
day.
Yeah. So, like, that makes no sense.
Leg day, arm day, you know.
Don't skip leg day.
Ever. You'd be looking like Foghorn Leghorn.
I actually was, when I was in D.C., there was a guy whose nickname was Foghorn because he would always work out his upper body, and he would do cardio.
Triangle body.
Yep, he looked like an upside. He looked like a
Upside down triangle
no.
with legs and arms.
He looked like an ice cream cone. Anyways, so reading through some of the comments. Not the asshole. First off, there's nothing wrong with waiting patiently and politely for someone to be done. It is in no way a violation of gym etiquette. I wait on people all the time at the gym, and no one has ever seemed to be put out in the slightest. However, using a squat rack for a non-squat rack exercise is definitely a violation of gym etiquette. Why make people wait unnecessarily? You weren't rude. You responded in kind to his rude and mistaken comments. Somebody did comment, they said, I'd feel super awkward and uncomfortable with someone sat there watching me exercise like that. Gives off major get the fuck off my machine vibes. So it does, but if you know that you're not using the machine for what it's supposed to be used for, you can kindly go fornicate with thyself.
Yeah, it's kind of rude.
Let's see. Somebody went ahead and commented, yeah, I think it depends on how OP was waiting. If they were chilling by the wall, messing on their phone, clearly not paying attention, or paying the other person much attention, then it's fine. If OP was standing just a few feet away and actively looking at the non-squatter, that would come off to me as aggressive or impatient. And then there's a back and forth between that person and another person, saying, well, this is gym etiquette. No, this is gym etiquette. Just blah, 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 blah. Let's see. Somebody went ahead. If you're curling at the squat rack, that's exactly what you deserve.
Yeah.
Somebody said, not the asshole. He was very out of line. It is also normal to wait when someone has one set left unless she was staring. Perhaps the shock of him curling was too obvious. I really hope OP jumped on the rack while he went running to mommy. Seriously, this guy sounds like a pampered boy who doesn't know how to talk to women. There are exercises you need a squat rack for that aren't squats. Curls are not one of them. OP was blunt with her response, but was no blunter than him. Honestly, his go do another exercise is quite condescending. She was also probably in rest from another heavy exercise, which is normal between stations.
Yeah, and it's like I said before, and like other people have said, and like you've said, using a squat rack for a non-squat exercise is kind of dickish.
I mean, there are non-squat exercises that you do need to use a squat rack for, like deadlifts or, stuff like that. But
yeah, especially when you have no spotter.
Yeah. But, like, if you're... curls, really?
Dude, you can stand next to the mirror in another location.
You can stand in the bathroom for all I fucking care.
That's the thing, is, like, he was probably standing in one of the bigger mirrors in the area. In front of the bigger mirrors in the area. Because I've noticed squat racks have bigger mirrors because you have to be able to see your full form.
Yeah.
Dude, you might as well get that Narcissus machine from freaking 911, where that exercise machine, that's what it was called, Narcissus. And it's like, really?
Yeah.
Like, that's all you're seeming like is a narcissist.
Well, the reason why I say
he about you and you alone.
The reason why I say he should probably go to the bathroom to do his curls is because of his shitty attitude.
Yeah.
It wasn't that funny. It's fine.
It was funny.
Well, I think that's it.
Really?
We are at that time, and I need sleep.
Yeah, I should probably get some sleep too, because I kind of gotta work tonight. Ew.
So do I.
You gotta work 5 hours tonight.
Mm.
But I have to work 12 and
well, today's your Monday, so fuck off.
Yeah,
Today technically is my Wednesday.
Yeah, I don't. Mondays, right, let me tell you, at least it's not a full moon Monday.
There's that.
So I'm trying to stay positive. The only thing I'm not positive about is the way my knee is going to react, because I'm not looking forward to that.
But thank y'all so much for listening. We really do appreciate it.
Yep.
If you are listening to us on Spotify and you want to show Spotify that you like what you're hearing and you want to hear more, hit that download button. It lets them know, which then they let us know that you like what you're hearing and that you want more of what you're hearing.
Just so you guys
said
know.
That twice.
Just so you guys know, Google Podcasts is going away, but you can always find us on YouTube Music, because that's where everything is going.
Or on any sort of streaming, service or podcast listening service that there is.
Yes.
If you would like to, in the description, there is a link to donate to the show. If you want, we're not saying you have to. It's
nice.
If you want to, you can. It's another way of showing that you like hearing what we're saying and what we're doing, and you want to support the show in another way. But once again, don't have to. And I forget where I was going with that. Anyways. But, as always, thank you so much for listening. We really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for sticking with us. This
51
is 51.
We're over the hill on that.
Yeah. Oh, did you ever... How fast did you think we'd ever get to this point?
I don't know.
Yeah. But
don't forget to love each other, everybody.
As always, don't forget to love each other.
And don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.